In this video, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of the 3rd gen Prius as well as the new Camry, and also my experience with door dashing in this older Prius versus the new one, and why I got rid of this older Prius, which was paid off and really cheap to keep running, compared to a new expensive car that has depreciation ahead of it and probably more expensive repairs. Alright guys, so this is where it all started with my DoorDash career and my having an eco car career. I've grown up with gas guzzling monsters, and I got this Prius. I'm now into it for about $5,700. I've put 5 tires on it, one got a nail, 3 oil changes, and some brakes. And we've had this car for about 15,000 miles now, or about 9 months. My dad commutes to work in it, and then I take it and do DoorDash at night. And this car has really been amazing, but it does have some downsides that caused me to get a new Toyota hybrid. So this car is a 2015 Toyota Prius 2 with 165,000 miles, and we've been averaging about 38 miles per gallon in this car, which is great, but you kind of have to work for it in this car with it being so much older and older technology. The hybrid system just is not as advanced as what I'm finding with the new Camry hybrid I just got. But for DoorDash, this car really gets the job done, because I can put about $7 worth of gas in. That gets me 100 miles of range, and I can do that for a day and, you know, make $60, $70, $80 with that. So that's pretty cool. Something I really like about the 3rd gen Prius is the amount of storage you have in here. You have 2 glove boxes, which is really cool. You have these 2 cup holders here, which are really big. It's great for DoorDash for those really large cups. And you've got the center console, which is pretty deep. You have this nice tray here, which is great for, I like to put my mask here and some hand sanitizer. You also got some door pockets here. That's great for more hand sanitizer. And so there's a lot of really nice, clever storage nooks in this car. And then you also have, there's in the back there some more cup holders you can pull down in the center console. So if you get a big DoorDash order with a lot of cups, you can put some in the back as well. Now to the things I don't really like about this car, and one of them is the seats. They're okay, like they're pretty good, but after a while I just kind of get some fatigue. I have really long legs, and so you can't adjust these seats really well because they're manual adjusting. So all you have is a height control and your back support. That's really all you can do, and then you can just slide it with the lever in the front. Which is, I mean, for the price I paid for the car, it's not, I mean, it's a great car, but I certainly wouldn't have wanted to buy this car new. These cars are like 25 grand, and you can do a lot better for 25 grand. Another thing I don't like about this car that caused me to get another one was my knees are always hitting these really hard plastic pillars, and I was starting to have like sore knees after doing a day of door dashing in this car, because I guess I just don't really fit very well in this car. Like it's just the top of my kneecap really slams into that, and it shifts it, and it's painful. So what I would end up doing is I would have my leg crossed and try and get it under there, but you can't always do that. And then when you start spending a day in this car and you're, you know, spending 8 hours a day just driving it around doing deliveries, you start to kind of look around and you're like, you know what, this is hard plastic. This is super thin and not that comfortable. The knee thing, this is really, it's just like fabric over plastic. There's no padding in this. And this whole interior is just really cheap. You might not care. I'm really big on interiors. I love a nice interior. That's why I would daily drive the Lexus, even though it got 9 miles per gallon. It has an amazing interior with a great sound system, and I really appreciate that about that vehicle. Another issue I have with this car is the tech in the screen. There's things I don't like, and there's things I do like. I love this display where when you put it in gear, it shows that little line comes up, and if you keep it below that line, you can keep it in EV mode. This is the screen I usually leave it on because it's really helpful for trying to be efficient. But other than that, ergonomics thing that I like, I don't like the screen itself. It's this really 80s looking display. It's all green, and Another issue I had with this car when door dashing was that it doesn't have Apple CarPlay. Obviously, it's too old, and it doesn't have built-in maps, but I wouldn't use built-in maps anyways for door dashing because that's just way too much effort. And so what I got was I got this little magnetic phone mount to put my phone on, so it would also charge the phone, which was great. But I really wanted to mount it somewhere on the dash right here, but you can't mount a suction cup to this weird kind of elephant skin material. I don't know what you would call this, but it's got these weird designs, and so you can't mount a suction cup to this. So what I had to do was, and I couldn't put it over here because of the way the windshield is so sloped. If I put a phone mount there, it would block like most of my view right here, and it wouldn't work here because my phone's too tall to fit in this gap here. So I've had to put it over here off to the side and kind of get used to looking over there. It's not too bad in the Prius because you're already looking off to the side for your speed anyways, because it's not right here, it's over there. So you're kind of already looking there. But that is something I ran into with this car. I will say that the Bluetooth in here pairs very quickly. This car is really easy to hop into after you've just picked up a delivery. You just open the door with a keyless entry. I've gone over that in another video. The push button starts great. This shifter, I know it gets a lot of flack, but it's so quick and easy to use. And it takes up hardly any space. And with the hazard button being right there, it's really great to, you're in drive, quick, you're in park, hazards on, hop out of the car. That's really nice. First thing first, getting into a brand new car is always just nice. Let's get that off the bat right away. But also, this interior is just a much higher quality interior compared to the Prius. You have a leather wrapped steering wheel, a leather shifter. This one has heated seats. It's got a nice soft, actually padded armrest. It's got leather trimmed seats with a nice tough cloth insert. It's got softer door panels and actually soft touch upward door panel, soft touch dash, digital display in the gauges, Apple CarPlay, dual zone climate control. It has USB-C in here as well. Oh, here's my old phone mount from the Prius. I transferred it over here already. It's got all these cool modes. The Prius had these modes, but it didn't have these modes, which is really cool. So when I'm in this car, I have a lot more room for my legs, and this material just, this is still hard plastic, but it just feels so much more forgiving because of the way the trim is designed compared to the kind of fake chrome plastic over here. And this side just feels a lot softer too. It's just the placement of it just feels so much better. And you still have a nice little storage bin here for a mask or your phone, and you've got some chargers here. It's not as much storage as the Prius, which I'm disappointed about, but you gotta give up some things to get some things. You know, it only has one glove box. The armrest, center console, it's about the same size. I think the Prius one's a little deeper, but I do like that it has the USB Type-C in there, and the other old style as well. I think that's really cool to have multiple USB ports. The Prius, I don't even think has one, or maybe it has one USB port, but it's just a data port. It doesn't charge very fast. And oh, this car also has a heated steering wheel, which is really exciting, really fancy. But I think my favorite feature of all is the radar cruise control. This is amazing. The car practically drives itself. I mean, obviously you have to babysit it. It's not the best around corners. It's not perfect when the lanes start kind of getting wider on you because it's merging off to an exit. But for just going down the highway, sitting in traffic, it's amazing to have this. And I think you get some better gas mileage too, because when you're in cruise control, the car knows what it's doing, so it tries to optimize your eco here. So this gauge is like the one on the Prius that I mentioned that I like so much. It's just become an analog needle instead of a digital bar. So you still have your in the middle point where if you keep it between here and there, it will stay in EV mode. Or if you actually push the EV mode button, it won't right now because the battery's low. But if you put it in EV mode, you can go all the way up to here, up to 25 miles an hour, which is the same thing as the other Prius. But I gotta say, I don't know what the size of the battery is. I'd have to look it up. But I feel like this Camry has a bigger battery. I noticed that, and this is a heavier car too. It's a bigger car, it's a heavier car. And the battery just feels like it stays charged longer. I don't see it depleting as fast. The car lets me put it back into EV mode a lot quicker. There's less of a cooldown period, And I just find the car is always going into EV mode a lot more than the Prius does. And it feels like the electric motor in this car has a little bit more torque as well, so it can carry the car. But this car overall is a lot faster because it has 200 horsepower or 208 horsepower versus 150 or 130 horsepower. It's like 130 horsepower in the Prius. So this is a much faster car. It's a better Camry to get the hybrid. Like, if you're getting a Camry SE, like, you really should just get the hybrid. There's no reason to get the 4-cylinder non-hybrid over the 4-cylinder with hybrid. You get better gas mileage. The CVT transmission, when you have your head around a hybrid, it's really not that big of a deal. It drives just fine like a normal car. Most people really won't notice. Obviously, these paddles here they really don't do anything. I've tested them out. It's kind of pointless in a CVT. So if you really have to have that automatic, I guess get the regular 4-cylinder. But the hybrid Camry it's the way to go. It's a nice car. This car also just feels so nice going down the road. Being a new car, this has 6,000 miles. I bought it used. I got it from CarMax. I did not buy it brand new. I haven't gotten to that level yet, but I mean, I kind of paid new money, but whatever. Right now, there's dealer markups of like over $5,000. So the fact that I got this car at under MSRP, I think I'm doing pretty good. But anyways, this car feels so nice going down the road. Because it's a new car and it's a nice car, the shocks are still nice. The bushings are still nice. The ball joints aren't worn out. The brakes aren't crappy yet. The tires aren't worn out on it. I don't have to worry about anything on this car. It still has Toyota Care, so I get a couple years of free oil changes and tire rotations. It has all the warranties still ahead of it. If anything goes wrong, it's Toyota's problem, not mine. But the car, it's not worn out yet. It's not spongy on the highway because the shocks are blown. It's amazing how when it goes over the bumps, like, yes, you feel the bumps. It's obviously not a Rolls Royce, so not gone. Like, it's just you're wafting down the road. But when the bump, like, you feel it, but it's like a firm softness is kind of the best way I can describe it. Like, it's well controlled, it's smooth, but there's like a firmness to it that this car has that it's amazing. You got to experience it. If you haven't driven a new car, if you're like me and you have cars that are over 200,000 miles or they're old, get yourself into a new car. Just test drive one. Do a 24-hour test drive from CarMax like I did. I did a 24-hour on this car. I really didn't expect to buy this one. I really wanted a red one, but honestly, none of the dealerships around here have one. So this car had all the things I want. It was the right price, and I just kind of fell in love with it on the test drive, and I pulled the trigger on it. Now, to talk about the more DoorDash specific part of having a new car to do this in. One, I don't have to worry about breaking down on the side of the road, obviously. And I am excited that the Camry Hybrid has a spare tire, just like the Prius does, but the Corolla Hybrid does not have a spare tire, and neither does the Prius Prime. So that's something to be aware of if you're in the middle of nowhere and don't want to waste a tow when you could have just changed a spare tire if you're a handy person like myself. Secondly, it's an expensive car, and so it's hard to want to just put a lot of miles on an expensive car. That breaks my heart a little bit. Another thing is this is a physically bigger car than the Prius. It's a lot wider of a car, and it's a bit longer than the Prius. It's also a little lower too, so I worry about scraping. There's a couple driveways around here that are pretty common. The Dash Smart has a really steep driveway in Los Gatos. So that's something I'll have to be more aware of. When I drive this car, I'm more cautious. And the Prius, I don't care what happens to that car. That car was so cheap, and like anything to fix on it is like the tires were like $60. Like I hit a pothole, replace a tire, boom, $60 installed, it's done. Like, so cheap. I have a feeling the tires on this car are gonna be more expensive because they're a 17, or maybe they're an 18, but they're a bigger wheel. It's a low profile tire, so they're more likely to get a pinch flat. They're probably more expensive to replace because it's a bigger wheel. It's a wider tire, so that is something to keep in mind. And also, when you're parking this car, it's a wider car, so it will still fit anywhere. It's a normal car. I mean, I can park those Lexuses anywhere, but I'm just not used to being something this wide and this low, because when you're up that high in something that big, it doesn't feel that big because you can kind of look down and you can see around you. But in this car, because you're low, you're kind of looking more out, where in the Lexus, I'm looking down. So like I have more visibility around the car, where in this car, I kind of go, oh, I have no idea how close I am to anything on that side of the car. Like, it looks like I'm touching the Prius, but I'm actually like 4 feet away. So that's where you gotta go over here and adjust your mirror and just kind of look down at your tire and think, oh, okay, I'm getting close to the line. But something that is nice about the new Camry is these new backup cameras. You've got 2 different modes for the camera here. So you can have a closer one, you can have a wide one. Also, another amazing thing, Camry does not beep like crazy. I know it's beeping right now because it thinks there's a pedestrian, so I have the pedestrian warning on. But other than that, like just normally, it wouldn't be beeping when it's in reverse like the Prius does. Yeah, see what I mean? I think the camera or the car thinks that my little tire right there is a person. I don't know. But when you're normally in reverse, it doesn't just beep constantly like the Prius does, as I will demonstrate right now. So in the Prius, when you put it in reverse, it will just beep all the time for no reason, just keep beeping, which is annoying because it's not a semi-truck. Oh, also automatic parking brake, that's really cool. When you go to put it in drive, parking brake goes on, put it back in park, parking brake goes on. Really nice. I mean, I had no problem with the foot pedal one in the Prius, but it's just one less thing to worry about. It's really nice. Another cool thing about the Camry is this one actually has remote start. So if you hold the button 3 times, it will actually start the car. See how it flashes like that? It will get the car started. On a hot day, you can get your air conditioning going again. You see that? Let me try and get the glare here. See, the screen's on. And it will turn the air conditioning on. That's so cool. I've never had a car like that. And I didn't think that the this fob would actually do that, but I guess it does in a hybrid. And so the way you turn it off is when you go to open the door, just unlocks and the car shuts off right away. So nice. Oh, and I'm getting the same gas mileage, by the way. Like, I mean, I know the new Prius is probably a little better and the Corolla Hybrid's a little better, but apples to apples, they're getting about the same miles per gallon, which is amazing considering this is, again, a bigger, heavier, lower, wider car with much wider wheels and way nicer interior. So they're really doing some magic with these new cars. It's very impressive compared to this. I want to thank you guys for watching the video, watching me compare the goods and the bads of both of these 2 cars here, and my honest opinions on the new Camry Hybrid compared to the 3rd gen Prius, because I really thought about just getting another one with lower miles, but I was like, I just want a newer car. It's worth it to me if you're spending this much time in a car, it's worth it to me to be in a comfortable, nice car, and I'm spending so much of my life in a car.